Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and Ranking Member Davis for allowing the National Security and Foreign Affairs Subcommittee to jointly hold this hearing. There are many questions raised by the construction of this enormous 65-acre, 24-building walled fortress of an embassy in Iraq. What will it mean to Iraqis? Will most Iraqis react like one quoted recently in the Los Angeles Times article, who said they're not leaving Iraq for a long time, and he called the embassy a symbol of oppression and injustice? What purpose does an embassy serve if nearly 1,000 of the United States of the State Department officials are only rarely permitted to interact with Iraqis outside the Green Zone? An essential part of their job is questioned by the American Foreign Service Association, the professional body representing State Department employees. What does it mean that our military is planning on co-locating at the embassy site, and how will this be interpreted? Is this reminiscent of the even larger Somalia compound that was dismantled by looters after the overthrow of the dictator Mohammed Siad Barre, and does it foretell the planned Lebanon embassy now said to be located in the heart of Hezbollah-controlled territory? Is it bigger than it should be if you really expect Iraq to stabilize, and not as big as it needs to be, the nerve center of an ongoing war effort, as the LA Times quotes a State Department advisor and Council on Foreign Relations senior fellow as saying? But the purpose of our hearing today is to look at the construction of the embassy itself. Our new Iraq embassy is not only our most expensive embassy to date, it is also supposed to become a beacon of freedom and democracy in Iraq and throughout the Middle East. Still, as Chairman Waxman has noted, very troubling allegations have come to the subcommittee's attention that this proposed beacon of freedom was built, quite literally, on the backs of workers from Nepal, the Philippines, Pakistan, India, and Ghana, just to name a few nations. We've heard allegations that some third country nationals working for the prime contractor, First Kuwaiti, had to pay recruitment fees amounting to more than a full year's salary, fees as high as $3,000 with salaries as low as $7 a day. We've heard of workers essentially waylaid to Iraq, being told they were going to work in Dubai and giving boarding passes to Dubai, but being transported instead to Iraq. We've heard of verbal abuse, physical assaults, and intimidation, the First Kuwaiti managers brandishing weapons. We've heard of workers living a dozen or 2 dozen or even more in a single trailer measuring 40 feet by 10 feet. That would essentially be the breadth of this 2 rows of seats and about the width as well. We've heard of inadequate medical care, of a lack of safety training and equipment, and about deaths not adequately explained. And we've heard of workers unable to return home, whether because their passports were withheld, or because of threats, or because they faced a year's salary penalty if they are resigned. And I might note that the withholding of passports by employers is an act forbidden by the United States government. Our first panel today consists of former workers from the embassy site who will tell us what they themselves have heard and saw. We take these allegations very seriously. Unfortunately, however, it appears that not everyone may have done so. We have learned during the course of our investigation that a number of officials in our own State Department may have looked the other way when confronted with these disturbing or inconvenient allegations. Our State Department is supposed to be the face of U.S. diplomacy to the world. Unfortunately, it appears that when it came to the workers used to construct our flagship embassy in Iraq, some State Department officials may not have kept their eyes wide open. For example, it has become clearer and clearer that little to no forethought on labor issues have been done during the contract award and in the vetting of First Kuwait. It appears the State Department officials have largely taken a hands-off approach with respect to First Kuwaiti's relations with its third country workers. And we've heard about the State Department's own Office to Combat Human Trafficking pressing for action from General Williams and from other top officials in the Bureau of Overseas Building Operations and from the State Department Inspector General, and receiving what can only be described as the cold shoulder. We have a State Department Inspector General who reportedly allowed First Kuwaiti itself to select the workers to be interviewed, an Inspector General who apparently didn't even interview those alleging abuses, and an Inspector General who didn't use interpreters despite the fact that only 10% of the worker population was fluent in English. I sincerely hope that what we hear today from our State Department witnesses dispels and explains those troubling stories our investigation has uncovered. I hope we hear that a strict adherence to on time and on budget does not mean the trampling of workers' rights and dignity. It is important that all of us in the United States government recognize that our words and our actions matter. Our words and our actions matter both because others in the world are watching us and listening to us, but even more importantly because they reflect on who we are and who we should constantly be striving to become. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman.